But me, everything can be fixed through the line items. They don't have enough line items, that's why they're short. I've had people, when I used to write estimates for the virtual, they would tell me like, if my estimate was like 25,000, for example, I've had guys tell me, hey Chad, I don't want to weird the insurance company out with this. You want to bring it down to 20 perhaps, bring it down to 20, like lower it. And my response is, I could do that for you, but when I go down to the 20, believe me, they're going to drop you down from there. They're always going to push you down. You could take your price down to $5,000, and they're going to try to push you down, right? So my whole approach is starting from the higher level by documenting every single little thing and proving it with the proof, with the documentation, the building codes, the photos. So you have the ability to make the change manually, and if you do, it's about 3 times more money. It's also drywall, DRY versus DMO. Siding, SDG versus DMO. It's always about triple. It's the craziest thing. Now, just change it manually and submit it that way, and then it'll get approved. Right? Wrong? No. I wish I could make it that easy for you, But just making the change does not mean that that's going to get you the approval. And they're just like, we don't pay for that. We don't pay for that. Then what do you do, right? What do you do then? Like my friend asked me, what do you do about the pushback? I think everybody came to, when they push back, then what do you do? Then what do you do? That's all they're going to do is push back. Okay, that's what I wanted to show you. That's part of the siding there. Doesn't need to be replaced, right? Just a little repair, touch that right up. Water was getting through, big time. All right, and this is the actual photo report that I sent. There's the drone shots. I usually lead with those, but don't forget the mailbox, guys. Everybody always forgets the mailbox. You can see I showed this, and I don't typically do this because they're going to say it doesn't matter what the rest of the neighborhood looks like, but I wanted them to show what the impact of 150 mile an hour wind looks like. How could those shingles ever survive that? How could the siding ever have survived? So, all right, my purpose, big time, is obviously to get way more money on this deal, but I'm trying to get the siding approved. I've got my interior stuff. I'm trying to get the siding approved, right? This interior was not that bad because it was, they did the roof right away, right? So I am trying to get the siding approved. My biggest goal is to do that. I sent the photo report to USAA, hoping that would trigger an adjuster appointment, the re-inspect, and it didn't. You know what they said? Send us the estimate. Like, darn. But I'm going to go through that and exhaust it. Like, it happens differently. The 2 case studies I'm going to show you today, they're both different in that way, right? So I sent them the photo report. They said, send us the estimate. I'm like, darn, I don't want to show them my cards, but I did, and that triggered an estimate an adjuster re-inspect. So new adjuster comes out to meet me out there. He was from Louisiana, and the first thing he says when he gets there is, do you have an estimate? So see, he didn't even know that I sent that estimate into the inside of USA. I'm sure he could have gotten a copy of it, right? But he didn't even know it. So if you have to do that, just don't go all out, because my thing is, look, this, and you can tell him this is a preliminary estimate, because I was hired to perform all repairs that are prescribed by you. So I have to figure out what you're actually approving that I needed so that I know what to write an estimate on. Does that make sense? All right, so I'm going through. This is the estimate. We're going to look at it. This is the part I want to really show you. Now, I think that, again, my goal is to get the siding approved. I really want to bury them with it, guys. I want to cut them off at the pass. I think every claim is different. It's hard to really scale these things to cookie cutter everything. I really want to strategize individually and customize for every claim. This is not copied and pasted from somewhere, Like once I had a chance to do a detailed inspection and knew about all the problems on this job, then I could document those things. But I want to cut them off at the pass, because if you have one reason like discontinued shingles, right, and you're like, I know I have this but then they come back on it, and they have a way around that. Now what's your reason? You have to have another reason, and another reason, and another reason. So I want to hit them with so many reasons. I want to bury them with it, but I still also want to keep a couple of them in my pocket. Why is that? Because if they shut me down on all of them, you can always reopen it back up. You know one way to reopen any claim, like they're always like, well, that claim's closed. Great, open it back up. You know? I mean, but listen, if you find new damage that nobody else ever saw, like a line item that's not on their estimate, forget about all the tolling time periods. It's like new evidence in court. You know, like think of an appeal, like somebody's put away for life and they've exhausted all the technicality appeals, like based on mistakes made in court. All that's already ran out. The only way to have another crack at it is new evidence. Like that's the only thing. So let's kind of think of it the same way here. In a lot of ways, this is like the legal system, you know, like you're like the CSI investigator. You have to document the crime scene, dust it for prints, gather up all the proof, all the evidence, right? Put it in bags, and then you bring it and translate it into an estimate. That's like the prosecutor, you know, but you translate it into an estimate and present it to the adjuster. All right, now I'm not gonna just gloss over these. I actually want to read them, but I'm gonna do it really quickly. I've done it many times because I know the impact that actually has. And I think you'll learn something from it. Okay. The original adjuster's report only indicates that a minimal amount of siding needs to be replaced. The minimum amount specified is not estimated correctly as the adjuster used in the incorrect line items. There's some typos in here. Nor did the adjuster include code-related items to address air leaking, R values of insulation required, flashing, dry sheathing being required, etc. Furthermore, only replacing a minimal amount would not suffice for the following reason. Or should be reasons. So I had 5 reasons that I listed out, right? Number 1, all of the siding, 100%, has been extensively damaged by Hurricane Michael. Please see, that's direct physical damage. That's the easiest way to get something approved, right? Please see the attached images showing the surrounding neighborhood, that's where that came in, damaged by extremely high winds. This caused massive damage to the siding fasteners, pulling apart, causing water to get behind the siding, thus completely destroying whatever was not already damaged by wind. See attached photos. See, I would like to put a photo and or a building code to back up every line item, if possible. That's my goal, if possible. That's how I get items approved, a photo and or building code for every item. All right? So see attached photos. Much of the siding has been completely torn off, including the moisture barrier underneath, all the way down to the sheathing, causing further water damage to the sheathing and the interior insulation. Number 2, even if we could only replace parts of the siding, building codes requires, Florida Building Code, see attached codes in the images section, that the underlying sheathing be dry. Much of it was damaged and is water soaked from the hurricane and rain that came after. Number 3, even if we could replace only minimal amounts of the siding, the existing siding has been discontinued. That alone should do it, right? It is no longer available for purchase. Number 4, even if we could only replace minimal amounts of the siding, and even if it were available for purchase, this siding does not meet current product specifications required by building codes and could not be used. Florida Building Codes, see attached codes in the images section. Number 5, even if we could only replace minimal amounts of the siding, and even if it were available for purchase, and even if the existing siding product specifications were acceptable, building codes require Florida Energy Conservation Code, see attached images, insulation be installed due to the R value requirements for exterior walls. For all of the above reasons and more, meaning I've got some more reasons if you need some, okay? I want to keep that, because what if he shuts me down? Then I can open it back up with the new reasons, right? 100% of the siding being removed and replaced, or this estimate includes 100% of the siding being removed and replaced, as well as all the associated components required to complete the project. You'll understand why I did this in a bit. I'll bring it home. All right, so my estimate. So front, I'm not going to go through every line item. I think this estimate's in the files. You can look at it for yourself. But now, one thing you'll notice about my estimates, I like to write estimates in the order of the job, and I have a very good reason for why I do that. But you might see it differently. So like on a roof, it would be like the order of the job, like remove ridge vent, remove ridge cap, which they're not going to pay for. You know, they're not going to pay for that. I'll just tell you, they're not going to pay for that. They're not going to pay for removal of ridge vent, but I'm putting it on there anyway, and I'll tell you why. They're not going to pay for removal of the ridge cap most of the time, but I'm putting it on there. Removal of the shingles, removal of the high charge, removal of the steep charge, you know, all those things down, and the order of the job. Then I take my accessories like pipe jacks, vents, and all that kind of thing, and I kind of sandwich those as R&R all in one line item in the middle. So remove, and then R&R, and then I go back with all the rest of the stuff, replace, in order of the job, right? I try to do that as much as possible on interior, which you'll see on this here, like Siding on front elevation, detaching and resetting the vent, the closed dryer vent cover, exterior light fixture, and then remove the soffit, remove the fascia, remove the custom wrap fascia, which they were completely missing, remove the gutters and downspouts, remove the siding trim, the 1x4s, and then remove fiber cement lap siding. And this is where you start to see the footnotes, real extensive footnotes, building code, photo, footnotes, if possible, to describe what you're even talking about, right? So all of this siding must be replaced. Remove siding, remove house wrap, remove sheathing. Okay, and then we're going R&R with the aluminum sidewall stuff, R&R wrap wood window frame, R&R garage door trim frame, or frame trim, and then R&R the wood door frame, and then replace. So flashing, still flashing moldable tape, energy conservation codes, as required by the Energy Conservation Code, right? House wrap, let's replace fan fold insulation as required by code. On your siding, that's a big one on siding, guys, fan fold insulation, because you have to get the R values in the wall cavity up to code. And where are we at again? It's R30 residential here has to be in the wall cavities. Also in the roof, like flat roofs, has to be an R30. Commercial would be an R25, in case you care about that for right now. That's that description of the Xactimate thing that I showed you earlier on how to insert that in there, right? Now siding, replace, the fiber cement, now we're doing the replace part, right? So replace with extensive footnotes for everything, right? See photos. I'm just gonna kind of cruise through here, caulking, silicone. All right, right elevation, more of the same. I'm just gonna go faster so we can get through it. Like I said, if you're really interested, you can see all this on your own. Right elevation, rear elevation, outlets, light fixtures, hose bid, detach reset. Looks a lot, adjuster's estimate, you can see it's like one page, has all the siding taken care of, a lot different. Like, I don't care. And by the way, do I expect an adjuster to actually read this? No, I don't. No way do I think that. I will not have my feelings. I will be shocked if one guy on the tree damage job that's in the files came out in Kansas, I think it was, came out and he had this clipboard, had my estimate all printed out. And they made me send my estimate. And he'd actually reviewed it, had notes on it. I was trying to tell him about stuff. He's like, oh yeah, I read your estimate. I was thinking, yeah, he skimmed my estimate. And then I'm in the kitchen telling him about why we have to get an engineer. And he's like, oh yeah, I read it in your estimate. I said, a freaking tear came to my eye. You know what I mean? Like, he actually read my estimate? Like, no way. So that was shocking. I don't ever expect them to actually do that. But what I'm trying to do, guys, I'm trying to create one PDF report that's going to contain everything all in one file. And look, this is 206 pages, 2 photos per page, easily sent in an email, any email, PDF document, easy. So like, no link to Google Drive, link to Google Photos, link to whatever other programs out there, or they have to give them a link and they have to click on it. Like State Farm, it's like they don't have internet or something. I'm not allowed to click on anything. Like when they're at work, they're in this dark room with no internet or something. So that doesn't usually work. That's why I do it that way. So the photos are in the PDF report and also the codes. Everything is there. So ultimately, it'll probably be me and adjuster, maybe on the phone or in person, starting from the top, going down through everything, item by item, discussing every item. That's where I win right there. Right? So they call me all crazy when they get something like this, like, what is this crazy? They're mad because they're not about to read through it. They don't even they can't even find the total in it, And I'm like, well, I'm sorry. Maybe I made a mistake, I'm humble with them. I'm play dumb, Maybe I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Here, well, let me look. You're still searching. Let me look that up. Maybe see, which item or items did you have a problem with? And they're like, oh, well, you got 18% waste, and you got your ridge and starter, and oh, sorry, okay. Was that the only item that you had a problem with? That's the only problem. So I really, if we could, let's sit down and go through each item from the top, item by item by item, right? And then we, they object to most of what we're saying, and they give us an objection, and then we respond with a rebuttal that I'll show you after lunch, that I will take from one of 3 buckets. I have my A bucket, B bucket, C bucket. This guy over here, he's not looking up, he's looking at his call. He's looking at his phone. He doesn't even know I'm talking about him. What? What's that? Now, he came to my event in Nashville. I didn't know this till the break. He told me 3 years ago here, and said that was the biggest thing. That he was like with 20 people, the company that bought tickets, or there's like 10 people, probably like 10 people. There's quite a few with the group you were with, and he works for somebody else now, right? He said they took, what was their numbers? That was the thing that the buckets, like, I'll show you which one it is, but those 3 buckets took their sales from what?
So back then,
their volume, what did they do?
Back then, the company was making about $1 million, and then after we took the class, it went up to $8 million. This company here saw the numbers, so they offered me to pay me 2 times more than what that company pays me.
But that company didn't come back. What the heck, man? Like, you think they made $8 million and they couldn't come back to my event?
I told them that one of the reasons why was because of the class that we took here. There was one thing that you showed that, I don't know if you remember, leave it blank.
That's right. Yeah. One second. All right. I got one of those. Okay, so I'm just cruising through because it's all the same stuff as the other elevations, right? I want to get to the end. No, there's no roof on this, remember, but there is a fence. There's interior stuff. The order of the job: contents, move out, then reset, mask and tape, detach and reset, all that stuff, right? All the prep work, window drapery hardware, window blinds, right? And then the actual work, followed up at the very end by final cleaning, okay? Bedroom 2. It was cool. We got there, when I met up with the adjuster, we actually found a couple more rooms that we added to this that are not on this report because there was more damage by the time we got there. All right, office, living room, general conditions. Okay, get to the total. $88,426.79 with no roof. They were at 36, right? Okay, so you can see after the estimate, then I have building codes. Right away, all the codes, because the codes are the laws that govern this estimate. See, the adjuster cannot make me go out and break the law, right? I can't go out there and do the job illegally. I have to do it legally, right? So I want to first show them the codes that govern the actual claim, the job itself, right? And then all the photos, which you guys have already seen, okay? So I won't bore you with that. But 206 pages, I sent that in. I get there, and the guy says, "Do you have your estimate?" And I'm like, "Well, and I just went back to what I normally say, because I'd already sent it into USAA. And I said, "Well, I have the structure of one sort of put together." And I didn't put every last little thing on there. I did more of a rushed version, because I'm not expecting them to hold me to anything, because I'm never agreeing to anything, ever. And we're going to keep on playing it. We'll open the door back up again. Go ahead, send the money. Send the money. A lot of times the adjuster might have a $20,000 writing power, and you don't know it. And if you knew it, give me the $19,999. Send the money, and I'll come back in and get the rest later. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how I would do it. I would take whatever money is on the table, take it off the table. Let's go back at it, because they would love for you to not take any money off the table at all. So you're disagreeing about the siding, for example, and you're doing this the whole time. And you're not going to move forward and do anything until you come to an agreement about the siding. Not me. I'm going to get all the money that they're willing to pay for everything else, and then we're going to have that fight about the siding as we go. You see what I mean? So it's a big, big, big difference, right? All right, so he says, "Do you have an estimate?" I said, "Well, I have the structure of one sort of started, and I can certainly get it for you. But see, I was hired to perform all repairs that are prescribed by you. So I really need to meet with you and show you what we're missing, because they're missing a lot of line items, it seems like to me. And I wanted to see what you thought about that and see kind of what we're going to do about that. And it's because I need to know what it is that you're going to approve for me to write an estimate on." Very important, very, very, very important. Right here, my next words out of my mouth. And I take it you guys use Xactimate. I use Xactimate too, okay? And he says, "Can you send me the ESX?" You hear that? He says, "Can you send me the ESX?" Then you know you're with the right guy. All right? If he says, "Send me," that's what I want him to say. I don't want to offer it. I want him to ask me for it. What does that mean? That means, remember the ESX files that you guys have for me? I can write the entire estimate and then send him the ESX file, and then he could take my letterhead off of it and put his own on it. And so I can do all his work for him. He doesn't have to do anything. The sketches, the photos, all that time spent. And they always, when they do that, they go in there and they knock me down, they take off, because they don't want to just give me a rubber stamp. They want to make it look like they reviewed it, you know. But you know how long it took me to put all that together? A long time. He doesn't have to take that long at all. That's what I really, really want, is to provide them with the ESX file. They could take that, plug it in, make any changes they want, and take credit for my work. That's what I want. So in this particular case, he says, can you send me the ESX file? I said, yeah, sure. Let's figure out what we're going to do in estimate. You know what I mean? That's where we're at. So we go around. This one was pretty easy. I think this is not a struggling one, guys. I mean, you see that's pretty easy to do. It's getting warm in here for you guys?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, why didn't somebody tell me? You wait till I get warm. So he approves everything, right? And he wants me to write the estimate. I got AC coming, guys. Okay, so we go through. He approves that, he agrees that the siding is necessary. I give him the estimate. And he gets his thing done, sends it over to me, and I want to show you what his estimate looked like, okay? So the final estimate on this deal. Okay, so first you can see USAA letterhead, right? And he gives like a recap of the way it was, the way it started, 36, with the other structures. And then he starts doing his revisions. And remember, like I said, we didn't do the roof. He did the roof. I think the roof even changed, though, because the price list changed. That's one thing to note. You know, any client could just ask their insurance company, can you update my price list? That's going to up the estimate just changing the price list, especially after a storm. Oh, look at this. So part of the approval, he labeled most of it as building code coverage.
Yeah.
So they had the building code coverage, right? But this is another important thing. This is paid when incurred, PWI. That means that you have to do the work and they have to pay for it, and then they pay for it. Which in this case, I could have fought that, you know, because there's many other reasons besides building codes why it needed to be, approved. But the client I was working for he was cool with that. He's like, no, well, let's get, it's USAA, they're fast. But I just wanted to point that out. So they have the roof on here. Kind of stayed the same, just updated the price list. We added 2 rooms on the inside that was in addition to mine. But he leaves the siding for the last. He kind of reverses the order, which I'll show you. Because that's, again, my most important part was the siding, guys. I think you know why, that type of siding. All right, so right here, I wanted to show you, he sort of breaks down the 5 reasons that he came up with as to why he's going to go ahead and approve the siding. Do you see what he wrote there? I won't read it for you. I just wanted to see if you noticed that. So this is the adjuster's reasoning for why this is, again, guys, this is the adjuster's estimate, not mine. This is the adjuster's estimate. This is the adjuster talking, all the reasons. What a thorough adjuster, guys. I thought you'd be shocked. Like, you don't see this every day with adjusters. All right, so front elevation, that's literally how you put words into an adjuster's mouth. You know what I mean? All right, I really like how he does his footnotes and things. I like how this guy works, man. Let's see what else he has. Look at that, he even gives the official description. So you get the idea, right? That's the thing about ESX files that's so killer. Now before let me go to the total so you guys can see the total. That's what you want, right?
He might teach you how to do that.
Right, that's right. The total is 89,408. And then it goes up after the O&P to 110,496.45 from 36. All right, so what you brought up earlier, I just want to cover something here. This remove ridge cap right here, right? That is
These will make you a lot of money.
remove drip edge. You can go to unit price over here, over on this side here, to see the price, the breakdown, right? Now, this arrow right here is selected on minus, which is removal. There's also, as most of you know, a plus sign, an and sign, an install only, right? So you can select whatever you want, remove only, replace only, install only, material only, right? In this particular case, we're looking at removal, right? Now, on the replacement side, so like, well, here we go. Here's one that has both, okay? Has the and already selected, and you can see replace 6186, remove 934, right? Now, but look over here. The removal of the turtle vent is set with DMO, okay? The category of DMO. This is general labor, okay? The replacement is RFG, just above here. So I'm looking at this right here, right? Removal DMO, replacement RFG. If I take this and change it to RFG,
the money goes up.
Okay, DMO, removal 934. If I change the removal to RFG, it's usually about triple, okay? Sometimes give or take. But if I change it, 2534, right? Not quite triple, but getting up there. You get the idea? So what he asked about is the RFG versus DMO. This is what we hear about a lot in the roofing community. But it's not just roofing. It's not just RFG. It's everything. What I'm getting at is Xactware starts at the default method with general labor, because that's what the roofers here do, right? You don't use your roofers to tear off the roof. You just use like a general labor crew for that, right? And then you send them on their way, and then you bring in the roofers to put the roof on, right? No. No, you use roofers, right? So, but it's the same. So you can so you have the ability to make the change manually, and if you do, it's about 3 times more money. It's also drywall, DRY versus DMO. Siding, SDG versus DMO. It's always about triple. It's the craziest thing. Now, just change it manually and submit it that way, and then it'll get approved. Right? Wrong. No. I wish I could make it that easy for you, you know. But just making the change does not mean that that's going to get you the approval. So what do? I'm all about documentation, extensive footnotes. So then I would tell them, right? Hey, Xactimate's wrong. Xactimate's wrong. This is not right. I need you to fix this. I've updated my pricing because Xactimate's wrong, right? Well, then if I draw, and that's what I did, by the way, when I first learned about this, that's what I did. I tried 20 claims, and I did them all that way. Manually changed them all, and I put real extensive footnotes and screenshots to show the insurance companies where Xactimate's wrong, but I fixed it. Don't worry, guys. I fixed it, and you can see that's why I've updated it to the proper trade, right? Well, and they're just like, we don't pay for that. We don't pay for that. Then what do you do, right? What do you do then? Like my friend asked me, what do you do about the pushback? I think everybody came to, when they push back, then what do you do? Then what do you do? That's all they're going to do is push back, right? So the first lesson of that is the idea of showing them everything is not a good idea. Like drawing their attention to it, that I found out that didn't work. So where it's going to work is, well, actually I already showed you. So if you look at what we were just looking at with the USAA deal, this estimate that I wrote, that the USAA adjuster copied, the entire estimate, did you see anything in the footnotes about anything about DMO and this and that? No. I didn't mention it anywhere, and I never said a word about it to him. He wanted my ESX file, okay? And he wrote the estimate correctly. I made all the changes, there's no DMO in here. So he wrote the estimate correctly. So that's one of those, so I can get it done about maybe 40% of the time is my best guess, okay? Like not every time, but I think those are big numbers when you're looking at how far different it is. This is one of the ways of getting it approved, literally sneaking it right past the insurance company. Well, you told me deceptive, no, not that. This is accurate, man. This is reasonable, this is accurate, it's perfectly written, in my opinion. So that's my goal, is to write it up correctly, let them copy my work, and sneak it right past. He never noticed, and neither did any of his supervisors above him. There was no audit, nothing like that. It happens all the time. Not all the time, but like during the approval part of it. So that's one way of getting it approved. The other way is like Nationwide's good for this, where they want you write an estimate for them. Instead of them revising their estimate, they write you an email and they're like, hey, could you change this? Could you change that? They want you to change yours, right? That's a lot of insurance companies do that. And that's usually pretty nice too, because where it doesn't work is State Farm. Not a lot. Like you can get it on a re-inspect, like on the higher level adjuster, like if he wants to have you do the work for him, but it's very difficult to have State Farm approve this, because essentially the State Farm has to revise their estimate, right? They have to revise theirs. So you would have to tell them, hey, you have your DMO setting off, because they're the ones writing the estimate. You see what I mean? There's just other maybe limited ways to get it approved, but those are the very few. 40%.
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
It kind of goes off of changing from DMO to RFG, like on a roof and tear off. If your demo line item price is already over what you're paying your laborers to do that, and you go change it to RFG, you're kind of tripling what you're telling the carrier you're paying your laborers?
No, I don't ever tell them what I pay my laborers. Why would I do that?
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, because I've heard of stuff similar in Texas and things like that, where now they're starting to request invoices, things like that. So is there ways to combat that to where you're not?
Oh, Texas? No, this is not a Texas thing, bro. Let me just dispel that right away. I work nationwide. It's not a Texas-specific thing at all, okay? So first, if they're asking for invoices from your subcontractors, usually that is to prove complexity and coordination for overhead and profit, different reason. And whenever they ask me to do that, I'm going to give it to them. I'm going to redact the invoices. I'm never, ever going to send them my prices for my invoices unless, like say you have an AC project, that you have to replace an AC, and you get a bid from your AC guy, right? And they come in and it's like $7,500. You sit down and Xactimate. What I would do with that is sit down and Xactimate. I want to know from the AC technician, HVAC guy, everything, every line item in the scope that they're going to use, like the length of their lining and everything, the electrical work. I want to know everything they're doing. And I want to try to translate that into Xactimate to get it up higher than the 7,500. But say I do that and it only comes to $5,000, right? So no matter what I do in Xactimate, I can't get it up to as high as where it's good. Then I would reveal the prices. That would be called a bid item, right? You probably heard of that. That would be called a bid. But never, brother, never send them. If they're asking you for invoices,
no, I'm just saying.
Like if they do ask you, I would say, are you a new adjuster? Because I'm not sending. You know what I mean? Like I would never send them that.
Right. Oh yeah. But no, I mean that answers my question. I was just curious if you're changing from DMO to RFG on your labor, is that any sort of manipulation of Xactimate or any sort of like borderline fraudulent activity?
Absolutely not. No way. No possible way. Yeah. No, all you're doing is you're the estimator. You're the contractor, so you use the software accurately, right? So all I'm doing is I'm changing it from DMO, what they have. They just want me to use general laborers for that roof.
Right.
I'm seeing that and I'm saying, well, you know what? I'm not going to use general laborers. I'm going to use the same roofers that I'm using to replace it, so I'm going to change it. The only thing is that it may seem a little sneaky to you because I'm not saying anything about it. I'm not drawing attention to it. Now, if they say something about it, I'll tell them. I'm not going to lie about it ever. I'm not going to do that. But one thing I want to note, man, is that this is cool too. Is like, and I understand this more as being not the contractor for so long now, is that adjusters and myself don't think in terms of dollar amounts. These right here, we don't think in terms of dollar amounts. So like you could be triple of what you would normally be, and adjuster's not going to see that. No way. They're not ever thinking about that. They're thinking about the line items. It's a weakness of mine because I'm not ordering materials anymore. So I'm like, an adjuster could totally change something up, like, to mislead me, and I probably wouldn't catch it, because I'm the same way. I'm not looking at the totals, I'm looking at the line items. But me, everything can be fixed through the line items. They don't have enough line items, that's why they're short. You know what I mean? I've had people, when I used to write estimates for the virtual, they would tell me like, if my estimate was like 25,000, for example, if I got something, hey Chad, I don't want to weird the insurance company out with this. You want to bring it down to 20 perhaps, bring it down to 20, like lower it. And my response is, I could do that for you, But when I go down to the 20, believe me, they're going to drop you down from there. They're always going to push you down. You could take your price down to $5,000 and they're going to try to push you down, right? So my whole approach is starting from the higher level, but not ever through any kind of misleading or through any kind of, this is sneaky, but this is a sneaky I'm proud of right here. I'm sneaky to passive. That's what I'm doing. But by documenting every single little thing and proving it with the proof, with the documentation, the building codes, the photos, etc.
It's not sneaky because RFG and DMO both have different trading